You know Okinawa as beaches and US bases, tourism brochures. Maybe you've heard about the battle, longest Pacific campaign, bloodiest ground fighting, but nobody talks about what the Japanese defenders saw coming at them. 82 days of hell that broke an entire army, cave by cave, flame by flame, until 21,000 men chose death over surrender. What did they witness? What turned disciplined soldiers into walking corpses? What happens when your emperor tells you to die, and the Americans give you no choice but how? The 32nd Army held Okinawa. General Mitsuru Ushijima, commanding. 110,000 troops dug into limestone caves and coral ridges across the southern third of the island. April 1st of 1945, Easter Sunday morning, and the horizon fills with ships, 1,500 vessels, 183,000 American troops. The largest Pacific invasion force ever assembled. You're looking at certain death, and your orders are simple. Kill 10 Americans before you die. If you value documented World War II Pacific theater history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from official Japanese war diaries and US military archives. Now back to the story. The first shock comes from the silence. No resistance on the beaches. American boots hit sand at Hagushi and find nothing. Empty positions, abandoned guns. The 32nd Army has pulled back to the Shuri defense line, a fortress system carved into Okinawa's rocky spine. Lieutenant Yahara Hiramichi designed it. Reverse slope positions, interlocking fire zones. Every cave connects to 3 others through coral tunnels. Every position can hold for weeks without resupply. The Americans expect to find Japanese troops at the waterline. Instead, they walk inland for 7 miles before the first shot. April 4th. Contact. The US 24th Corps hits the outer defenses at Kakazu Ridge. Japanese machine gunners wait until American squads reach 30 meters, close enough to see faces, then open fire from hidden positions. Nambu machine guns cycle 600 rounds per minute. In 4 hours, the Americans lose 300 men and gain 50 yards. Colonel Nishiyama Takeshi watches through a periscope from his command bunker. He counts American bodies and calculates ammunition expenditure. His men have killed their quota. They have 91 days left to live. The bombardment begins April 7th. Battleship guns and carrier planes. 750 B-29 bombers drop 6,000 tons of explosives in a single morning. The coral shakes. Cave roofs crack. Men bleed from their ears, but the tunnels hold. Private Ito Masaru writes in his diary, "The mountain moves like an earthquake. Our rice scattered on the cave floor. 3 men cannot hear anymore." The limestone absorbs explosions. Rock faces 40 feet thick protect Japanese positions. American shells crater the surface and change nothing underneath. You start to understand the American methods. Flame tanks advance to cave mouths. Napalm streams reach 200 feet into tunnels. Men deeper inside hear screaming that stops suddenly. Then the smell of burned flesh. Satchel charges follow. Demolition teams seal cave entrances with TNT and bury defenders alive. Private Nakamura Kenji records the sequence. Fire, then explosion, then silence. Our section strength drops from 43 to 27 in 1 afternoon. The Americans clear caves systematically. No prisoners, no surrender calls. Just flame and explosives until nothing moves. April 15th. The horror escalates. American units discover civilian caves in Naha. Women, children, elderly Okinawans hiding with Japanese troops. US policy is clear. Any cave with military personnel becomes a legitimate target. Flame tanks move in. Lieutenant Ono Takashi witnesses the aftermath from an adjacent position. Screaming stopped at 0700 hours, smoke for 3 hours. We count 31 bodies when the Americans move forward. Military necessity meets civilian tragedy. The line between combatant and non-combatant disappears in the coral darkness. The 32nd Army's artillery coordinator keeps detailed logs. Each page shows the same pattern: target coordinates, shells fired, estimated kills, ammunition remaining. By April 20th, gun positions are firing their last rounds. Counter-battery fire has destroyed 60% of Japanese artillery. The remaining guns have 17 shells per tube. After that, silence. American troops will advance without opposition. The defensive plan collapses to small unit actions and individual suicide attacks. Disease arrives with the April rains. Dysentery spreads through crowded caves. Men defecate blood and keep fighting. Corpses rot in tunnel corners because removing them exposes positions to American snipers. Private Yamamoto. Hiroshi describes the conditions: smell of death everywhere, rice mixed with maggots, water tastes like copper. Medical supplies run out April 22nd. Wounded men receive morphine if available, otherwise a grenade and a moment alone. No field hospitals, no evacuation, no hope of surviving a serious wound. May 1st brings the final American push toward Shuri Castle, General Ushijima's headquarters. The 10th Army commits 4 divisions to a frontal assault on positions the Japanese have fortified for 8 months. Close combat in tunnel systems. American squads advance 20 feet per hour through coral maze work. Every junction holds Japanese defenders with grenades and swords. Blood pools in cave floors. Bodies pile at narrow passages. Lieutenant Colonel Yahara records the math. Enemy casualties exceed ours 3-1, but they have reserves, we have none. If you value documented World War II Pacific theater history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from official Japanese war diaries and US military archives. Now back to the story. The cave systems become tombs. American forces seal hundreds of positions with explosives and move on. Japanese defenders inside have 3 choices: suffocate slowly, detonate grenades in group suicide, or attempt breakout attacks that end in machine gun fire. Captain Suzuki Jiro chooses option 3. His final radio transmission at 03:15 hours, May 8th, Banzai attack commencing. Remember us. His section of 42 men charges American positions before dawn. Morning patrol finds 42 bodies in a 30-meter span. No Americans casualties. May 20th, Shuri falls. General Ushijima abandons his headquarters and retreats south with surviving units. Organized resistance collapses into scattered, desperate actions. Individual soldiers hide in caves with civilians, sharing water and waiting for American flame tanks. The Japanese battle plan assumed spiritual superiority would overcome material disadvantage. 2 months of horror prove otherwise. Discipline dissolves. Officers shoot themselves rather than order more pointless attacks. Enlisted men desert positions and hide with Okinawan families in tomb caves. American tactics evolve with battlefield experience. Loudspeakers broadcast surrender calls in Japanese. Few respond. Psychological warfare teams use Okinawan interpreters to convince civilians to surrender separately from military personnel. Some emerge. Others fear Japanese execution for cooperating with Americans. Terror works both directions. Japanese military police execute Okinawan civilians suspected of American sympathies. Trust dies completely. Everyone becomes a potential enemy. Night infiltration becomes desperate routine. Small Japanese units attempt to penetrate American lines under darkness. Sergeant Watanabe Kenzo leads 8 men through coral formations toward US supply dumps. Mission: destroy ammunition stockpiles with satchel charges. Result: 7 dead, 1 wounded survivor who crawls back to report total failure. These raids accomplish nothing but reduce Japanese strength. American perimeter security includes radar sets, infrared detection, and coordinated machine gun fire. Technology versus courage. Courage loses every time. The code-breaking horror emerges mid-May. American intelligence intercepts Japanese radio communications and decodes them within hours. Every defensive plan, every troop movement, every supply request becomes known to enemy commanders before Japanese units execute orders. Lieutenant Hayashi Saburo discovers the truth when American artillery strikes his position exactly 15 minutes after he reports coordinates to headquarters. The 32nd Army fights blind while Americans see everything. Water becomes weaponized. American forces locate and destroy Japanese water sources with targeted demolitions. Ancient Okinawan wells collapse under explosive charges. Springs get contaminated with diesel fuel. Cisterns receive chlorine gas canisters. Thirst kills more Japanese soldiers than bullets during the final 3 weeks. Private Kimura Taro records the progression. Day 1 without water, dry mouth. Day 2, cracked lips. Day 3, blood in urine. Day 4, cannot stand without falling. Dehydration tactics succeed where direct assault failed. The kamikaze coordination reveals strategic desperation. Special attack units launch from Kyushu airfields to support Okinawan ground forces. 1,900 suicide planes attack U.S. fleet positions over 10 weeks. Results: 36 American ships sunk, 368 damaged. Cost: 1,900 pilots dead, 0 strategic impact. Surface ships continue bombardment schedule without interruption. The mathematics prove kamikaze tactics waste irreplaceable pilots for minimal gain. Honor cannot sink steel. Medical horror reaches new depths in underground aid stations. Japanese army doctors operate without anesthetic, antiseptic, or adequate lighting. Wounded men bite wooden blocks during amputations performed with carpenter saws. Doctor. Takeda Ichiro maintains surgical logs through May 15th. Arm amputation, patient died from shock. Leg amputation, patient died from infection. Head wound, patient died during surgery. Survival rates drop to 15% for serious wounds. Most injured soldiers receive grenades instead of medical care. Food shortages create biological warfare. Japanese defenders eat grass, tree bark, and leather equipment to survive. Malnutrition weakens immune systems. Infectious diseases spread rapidly through cramped cave systems. Typhus, eye cholera, and tuberculosis kill men who survive American attacks. Private Ando Shigeru describes the decline. Cannot lift rifle anymore. Hands shake constantly. See spots before eyes. Starvation tactics succeed where conventional weapons failed. Cave ventilation systems become death traps. American engineers pump carbon monoxide into tunnel complexes through portable generators. Defenders deeper inside suffocate slowly, while surface positions remain operational. This creates horrible choices: emerge and face machine gun fire, or stay hidden and die from poisoned air. Captain Noguchi Tatsuya records the mathematics. 16 men in our section. 4 died from gas, 3 shot attempting escape, 9 remain with limited oxygen. Numbers reduced to 0 gradually. The math turns brutal by May 25th. Japanese ammunition stocks hit 0. Artillery pieces sit silent with empty magazines. Small arms ammunition rationed to 10 rounds per man. After that, swords and improvised weapons. American supply lines deliver 6,000 tons of materials daily to frontline units. Japanese supply lines ended 3 weeks ago. The material imbalance becomes absolute. Numbers decide everything. Civilian integration complicates everything. Okinawan families hide in tomb caves with Japanese soldiers. American forces cannot distinguish between combatants and non-combatants in underground complexes. Flame attacks kill everyone equally. Innocent deaths weigh heavily on individual Japanese soldiers who witness family destruction. Sergeant Major Ishida Koichi writes his final letter. "We brought war to peaceful people. Their children die because we chose to fight here. Forgiveness seems impossible now." Individual horror stories emerge from captured diaries. Private Sato Yoshio records killing his wounded friend with a sword thrust rather than leave him for American medics. "Better death with honor than life with shame. Tanaka-san smiled before I cut his throat." Military indoctrination demands death over capture. The alternative, surrender, means family disgrace and social exile if Japan wins the war. Better to die fighting. Better to kill friends than let them survive. Communication breakdown creates command chaos. Field telephone lines cut by American artillery. Radio equipment destroyed by targeted airstrikes. Messenger runners shot by snipers crossing open ground. Japanese units fight isolated battles without coordination or intelligence updates. Battalion commanders make tactical decisions based on information 3 days old. Colonel Miyazaki Shuichi attempts to coordinate defensive positions but receives reports from only 4 of his 12 companies. The others disappeared into combat without trace. Weather becomes another enemy. May monsoon rains flood cave systems and create impossible living conditions. Men stand waist-deep in muddy water, mixed with human waste and decomposing corpses. Tropical humidity prevents clothing from drying. Fungal infections spread across skin surfaces. Trench foot disables soldiers who never walked through trenches. Lieutenant Sakai Masahiro documents the deterioration. Half my men cannot walk, skin peeling from their feet in sheets. Still, they man positions when Americans attack. American flame tank operations reach industrial scale. M4A3E8. Sherman tanks modified with flamethrowers approach cave positions daily. Napalm streams projected at 800 gallons per minute. Temperatures inside targeted caves reach 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Human bodies ignite instantly. Limestone walls retain heat for hours after attacks. Survivors in connecting tunnels cook slowly in superheated air. This becomes routine procedure, efficient, methodical, thorough. Japanese counter-tactics adapt to desperate circumstances. Defenders create improvised explosives from artillery shells, grenades, and captured American ordnance. Suicide bombers strap devices to their bodies and charge tank formations. Results prove mathematically hopeless. Individual explosions disable single vehicles, while American forces replace losses within hours. Private Okayoshimi volunteers for explosive vest duty. My death will save 10 comrades' lives. His attack destroys 1 flame tank. American forces bring forward 3 replacements the same afternoon. Supply drops reveal American abundance. Japanese observation posts report C-47 cargo planes delivering thousands of tons of ammunition, food and medical supplies to forward positions daily. American soldiers receive hot meals, clean water, and mail from home, while Japanese defenders eat grass and drink contaminated puddle water. The material disparity becomes psychologically crushing. Private Fujita Keisuke writes, "Enemy eats better food than our officers received in peacetime." We are fighting the world's factory. Underground warfare creates unique psychological pressures. Men live in absolute darkness for weeks at a time. Flashlight batteries died in April, candles burned out in early May. Cave systems echo with sounds of distant explosions, screaming voices and dripping water. Sleep becomes impossible. Nervous breakdown rates exceed 50% among surviving personnel. Captain Yamada Hiroshi reports, "My men jump at shadows and fire at sounds. 3 shot each other yesterday, thinking Americans had infiltrated our position." Artillery registration becomes systematically deadly. American forward observers call precise coordinates for naval gunfire support. 16-inch shells from battleships offshore destroy cave positions with mathematical accuracy. Japanese defenders hear incoming rounds for 15 seconds before impact. Time enough to understand certain death approaches, but insufficient for escape. The psychological torture of waiting for annihilation breaks minds before explosions kill bodies. June 1st, the final pocket, Cape Kiyan at Okinawa's southern tip. 8,000 Japanese survivors trapped against the sea. No ammunition, no food, no communication with higher headquarters. American forces establish a cordon and wait. Loudspeakers offer safe surrender. Few accept. Instead, commanders organize group suicides. Grenades distributed. Final radio messages sent. Units gather in caves and detonate explosives simultaneously. Administrative efficiency continues until the end. Japanese clerks maintain detailed casualty reports, supply inventories, and personnel records throughout the battle. Final documents recovered from command caves show precise accounting. Rations consumed per day, ammunition expenditure rates, and individual death certificates written in perfect calligraphy. Bureaucracy persists when everything else fails. Lieutenant Colonel Tanaka Jiro files his final report June 15th. Unit strength 0, mission incomplete. Apologize for failure to Emperor. Military culture demands paperwork even facing extinction. Mass civilian deaths occur in family groups. Okinawan parents kill their children with swords or grenades rather than allow capture by American forces. Japanese propaganda convinced islanders that Americans would torture and murder prisoners. Fear creates tragedy. Entire bloodlines disappear in single moments of terror. Witness accounts describe orderly family suicides, parents explaining duty to children, then swift knife work to prevent suffering. Love expressed through murder, protection achieved through death. American interrogation techniques reveal intelligence gaps. Captured Japanese soldiers provide detailed information about defensive positions, troop strengths, and morale conditions. Military security collapsed completely during final weeks. Men surrender carrying operational maps, communication codes, and classified orders. The 32nd Army's security measures designed for conventional warfare prove inadequate against psychological breakdown and mass desertion. Logistics mathematics prove decisive. American forces consume 40,000 tons of supplies weekly while maintaining full combat effectiveness. Japanese forces operated on emergency rations since April 20th and still fought for 60 more days. Human endurance reaches limits that military planners never calculated. Soldiers function on 200 calories daily, while expending 3,000 calories in combat operations. Physics determines outcome regardless of spiritual motivation. General Ushijima chooses ritual suicide. June 18th, 0400 hours. His chief of staff, Lieutenant General Cho Isamu, joins him. Both men commit seppuku with traditional swords, while American artillery pounds their final cave complex. Their aide records the scene. Both commanders faced south toward Japan. No hesitation, death was perfect. Command structure dissolves with their deaths. Remaining pockets surrender or die individually over the following days. The butcher's bill staggers comprehension. American casualties total 12,300 dead, 38,000 wounded. Japanese military deaths reach 107,500 confirmed, with thousands more buried in sealed caves. Okinawan civilian casualties exceed 120,000, 1/4 of the island's population. Mathematical horror, industrial death, delivered with scientific precision. American forces catalog captured equipment after the battle ends. Japanese weapons stocks, 0 artillery shells, 400 rifle rounds, 37 grenades, 12 swords, medical supplies, 6 morphine vials, 4 surgical instruments, 0 bandages, food stores, empty rice bags, spoiled fish, water contaminated with corpse drainage. The defenders fought with nothing and lost everything. But the real horror emerges from soil analysis conducted 70 years later. Ground-penetrating radar reveals cave systems never reopened after the battle. Sealed tomb complexes holding thousands of bodies, Japanese soldiers and Okinawan civilians who chose death together rather than surrender separately. The coral holds its secrets, mass graves that span entire ridgelines, bone concentrations that exceed battlefield casualty reports by factors of 2 or 3. Recent excavations at former Shuri defense positions uncover final evidence, personal effects buried with systematic precision, soldiers, dog tags arranged in neat rows, family photos wrapped in waterproof cloth, final letters written in perfect calligraphy despite impossible circumstances. These men knew they would die and prepared accordingly. They documented their own destruction with bureaucratic thoroughness. The coral caves of Okinawa became history's most organized graveyard,